Yo, what up, what up? Welcome back. I'm your host, B. Ryder. It's my co-host,
J. Bell.
and it says
Final thoughts.
Today's topic, trans athletes in women's sports. Let's check it out.
Transgender swimmer Lia Thomas breaking barriers and records. But in a new article, Sports Illustrated calls the college senior the most controversial athlete in America. Thomas telling the magazine, "I just want to show trans kids and younger trans athletes that they're not alone. They don't have to choose between who they are and the sport they love." Her presence on UPenn's team has become a lightning rod in a bitter debate over transgender athletes in women's sports. The controversy has drawn in some of the biggest names in the sport.
I believe that we all should feel comfortable with who we are in our own skin. But I think sports should all be played at an even playing field.
Well, I've been pretty consistent, Sean, from the beginning. I've said that biological boys should not play in women's sports. It is just not fair. We have to protect women's sports from something like this. Lia Thomas, first of all, I respect her right to live her life authentically. Suffering from gender dysphoria is a horrible lifelong struggle, and every story is different. Let me tell you, Sean, I know that one. And I respect her right to do that. But with that comes some responsibility and integrity in what you're doing.
Alrighty.
This one is it's a pretty hefty one. Yeah. It's a big one.
Touchy.
Oh yeah.
Very touchy, but we've been running away from it for a while.
Yeah.
Because of wokeness and I guess the fear of cancellation and stuff like that. But I think we really need to touch on this subject.
We do.
It's about time. Long overdue.
Long overdue.
So,
long.
what? Let's just jump into it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about trans women being in women's sports?
So,
my voice cracks a lot.
All right.
So,
going through puberty.
Speaking of which, the problem with this situation, right, is puberty.
Ding, ding,
So,
ding.
Ding, ding, ding. What do we have for her, Johnny?
The issue with, I think, and what kind of drives this whole narrative against trans women in sports, and I think we're on the same page as far as like trans women being in sports. We see it as detrimental to women's sports, I think, and the problem is because of male puberty.
Yeah.
So, if you actually know anything about this situation, little girls and little boys perform close to each other before puberty. And as far as like athletically speaking, in sports or whatnot, you'll have girls beating boys in different athletic sports and boys beating girls. It'll go back and forth, right?
Yeah.
But that gap widens significantly
With puberty.
after puberty. Once boys hit puberty, the gap is insurmountable. There's nothing that the little girls can do.
Yeah.
It's done, over and done with. And that's the issue with trans women in sports. Just starting off, the issue isn't that we're being bigoted or that's
Phobic.
we're being phobic or anything like that.
Whatever.
The
Yeah.
issue is male puberty. You agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, so you can't male puberty, right? So we grow to be very, taller creatures than women, bigger hands,
On average.
bigger feet, muscle mass, bone density. These things play in our favor. Like when we go through puberty, and you enjoy, and men have those benefits. Let's say, the current thing is Lia Thomas, right?
Yes.
Thompson.
Lia
Yeah.
Thomas, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you going through male puberty and enjoyed all of the advantages of male puberty, and you trying to tell me that 2 years of HRT is going to take away all of the advantages of being a male,
right,
a biological male? Even Caitlyn Jenner said, if we were on a golf course, I can outmeter any woman that come out there, or at least the majority of women. And I'm like, yes, because you're a biological male.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. There's a reason why the fastest person on the planet is a man. The strongest person on the planet is a man.
Yeah.
The person who could jump the highest is a man.
Right.
These physical things matter.
Right.
And once again, women fought for their rights to have, you know, their
space.
Their space.
Yeah.
And once again, biological men are invading their space. And I'm here to just say that it's unfair and I don't like it. And I feel like I should be able to speak on it. No, I don't watch swimming, and I shouldn't have to be able to form an opinion on something I think is unfair.
Right. Because there could be a point where you may have a kid and they may start swimming.
Yeah.
And now, guess what? This is hitting close to home now. Guess
right.
What? Right. And the issue once again is male puberty. It's not anybody trying to say trans people can't vote or can't live their lives or can't go to the restroom. It's in women's sports.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
The reason women's sports exists is to protect women athletes.
No shit.
That's why. That's why it's there. And there are people out here who are pushing this narrative that women's sports, the only reason women have been, relegated to their own sector in sports is because men are afraid of being outcompeted by women.
Yeah.
That's wild.
You ever seen boxing? Women box, right? But would you really want to see a boxing match with a woman who's the same age as Iron Mike Tyson in his prime?
Fuck no!
We cringed when we watched him fight men.
Yeah.
Would you really want to see that?
That's insane.
I don't think that'd be digestible. Would you really want to see a woman fight Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time, in his prime, or George Foreman, arguably the strongest dude to ever box? This does not make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
It's really wild. That whole side of things is really weird to me because the people who make these arguments usually cherry pick things. They're like, look, we have women who are who've beaten men in archery.
Okay.
In aiming, shooting.
Yeah.
In chess.
Mm-hmm.
Word.
Non-physical, like
yeah.
It doesn't require. Okay.
What are you talking? We're not talking about these things. We're not saying that men are superior beings to women in every single capacity.
No.
We're saying that men have a physical advantage to women. Male puberty gives us that.
It's in every fiber of your being.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can take let's just say the wimpiest guy and toss him in a ring with a girl. Like the average woman. I would say that more than 50% of the times he would win the fight.
He'll be all right.
Simply because he's already gone through male puberty and he already has that advantage.
He does.
And it just goes with how it is. Like, women are shorter, women have more fat and water in them than we do.
Their fat distribution is different from ours.
Yeah.
Their distribution is on the lower half of the body, typically. Ours is
Childbearing hips.
Right.
We don't have that.
Yeah. We have larger hearts. We have larger lung capacities, and aside from puberty, there's hormone blockers, HRT, that people take to try to mitigate that. So the next question is, does HRT sufficiently mitigate the advantages of male puberty.
I mean, look, 463rd in the men's and first in women. I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
The proof is in the pudding, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know why we have to even go through these type of mental exercises. It's like this woke insanity needs to stop. Because what we're doing is we're trying to be so accepting, so progressive to the point where we're not even acknowledging the fact that we're fucking over women, biological women who are in their rightful space, right? We're doing that, and I just don't understand why. And when do we stop and be like, hold up, all right, let's scale this back, and revise this.
Right. The problem, the issue that's going on is that you can be a trans woman on HRT, and I think the rules as of right now is 2 years, 3 years on HRT, and then you can compete, right? The issue is that not only does HRT not completely mitigate certain faculties that you may receive from male puberty, but there are certain characteristics that it doesn't affect at all. And that's an issue. Your height is not going anywhere.
Nope.
Once you go through male puberty, your height is what, no matter how much hormone replacement therapy you go through, you're gonna be 6'4". It doesn't matter. Your limbs are still gonna be the same size.
Yeah.
Your heart size stays the same. Your lung capacity stays the same. Your muscle fiber type. Most men have fast twitch muscle fibers, which is great for like explosive sports. Those muscle fiber types stay the same. HRT does not change those. So the question becomes, if we are not properly mitigating the advantages that trans women have, if HRT cannot do that, if hormone replacement therapy can't bring trans women to the level of biological women, is that fair to let them compete? I would argue no. No, it can't be, because you have been given something that your opponent does not, and could never get. There's a video from a guy who I like, Noah Plum. Basically, he's a guy who has followed this topic for a very long time, and he is one of the people who's very in depth and knows what he's talking about. Even before the trans issue became an issue, he was talking about this subject.
Yeah.
And being an athlete, he knows that close enough is not nearly close enough. So when you are performing at an elite level, cutting half is not enough. You have to cut whole. So if an athlete has a 10% advantage from another elite athlete, that other elite athlete might as well not even show up. A 10% advantage, you cannot just make up. You can't just, I'm gonna train harder and no, it's over with. It's done. You might as well not even get off of the starting blocks, because when you look at it, even in the Olympics or other minor leagues, the winner, the first place winner, or the second place and the third place, what's dividing them is usually like a 1% difference, 2% difference. This is points of seconds we're talking about. 0.8 seconds from gold medal to silver. So if you have a slight advantage against somebody, you can win and be the greatest, fastest runner of all time. If that advantage is unfair, then the entire thing is unfair. If you've been given an advantage that the other person doesn't have, and it's a 3% advantage, that's unfair. You don't even aside from trans people, even putting that aside, if you're taking steroids that gives you a 2% advantage against other runners, you don't need to run. You can't run. You should be kicked out. because a 2% advantage is too fucking much.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
And like Dave Chappelle had a very good point. Like when he said, what if LeBron decided, you know, he wanted to transition and be a trans woman and go into the WNBA? It would be a catastrophe. Because we've seen this man amongst men win. Like he went to Cleveland and actually won.
Yeah.
You know, got rings for everybody and stuff like that. And this is amongst other people who are his size or higher.
Yeah.
And stronger and all this kind of stuff. And he still won. So imagine this man going into the women's basketball league. That team is going to fucking win every
Just
game.
Put your money on LeBron's team.
A lot.
It is.
And every time.
Yeah.
And the argument that I hear from other people who are pushing this is that, well, trans women aren't like disproportionately winning. And I'm just like, well, that's a red herring. Like, we understand that.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that this shouldn't even be happening. Right. Point blank and period.
Right.
The fact that it's happening at all is like a slap in the face to women, I think.
It's just pushing this narrative into a place where it shouldn't ever have arrived. So the issue that I see also is we have people who are fighting for fairness and you have people who are fighting for inclusiveness.
Right.
So whichever side of that you land on, it's like you can't. If you're fighting for utter complete fairness, then that's going to preclude inclusiveness. If you're fighting for complete inclusiveness, then that's going to preclude fairness. So what we need to do is to find a way. We're going to have to chip away at the edges here because we're not going to get both of these things. It's impossible to get both. We can't be completely fair and have inclusiveness, and we can't be completely inclusive and have fairness. These two things are not gonna fit.
No,
they're not gonna fit together. So, and this is something else that I got from Noel Plum. One of his suggestions was we need to recategorize the way we do sports, as in have a women's protected space. A space where you have to be a biological woman.
Yes.
To perform, to compete. And then we can have an open space, an open category. A category that makes no reference or comment to whatever sexual advantages or disadvantages, whatever nature you may be a part of. That means men can compete in it, trans men, trans women, whatever. As long as you're a person, you can compete in this category because it doesn't care what you define yourself as, right? But we still need this protected space for women.
Yeah.
This has to be here.
Yes.
Otherwise, women are going to get slapped down and you're going to see less women, I think, in the future going into sports. Because why would you compete in any competition where you know you're going to lose? Where you know that there's no way that you can make up the difference between you and this other person who happened to go through male puberty.
Yeah. I think in Europe, they actually did something. It was a gay man versus a woman. So I'm guessing they thinking like because he's so feminine that
it makes it equal.
Yeah. And it's just like this is still a man, you know?
Yeah.
He may have a different sexual preference from other men, but he is still a man. And you know what happened? He slaughtered her. He beat the shit out of her.
Boxing
it was a fight. It was fighting. It was like, what do you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even see this as a productive experiment. Like, seriously, what did you think was going to happen? He still has all of his male strength. He was not on HRT or any kind of hormonal medicine. He's still a man that just like men.
To penetrate their bigs, get deep, suck the D in, and then we got...
Stop. What do you mean by that?
That's all.
That's it.
If you're from New Orleans, you know a gay man will probably whoop a straight ass.
What's so funny right now? Bitch, I'm still a dude now. Beat your scary ass up in front, you ain't see.
I seen it happen.
Yeah.
Don't even play like that.
They still men.
They still men. They will put hands on
men.
you.
At the end of the day, bro.
Easy. But yeah, you're right. And I seen there was actually a woman who I think she worked for the NCAA, and she saw a trend in women's track and running, where some women would outcompete certain men. They would get faster run times. So she was like, oh, okay, there might be something happening right here. This might, require some further investigation. So she looked into the numbers, and she wanted to see if women could now compete with men. And what she found out was that though some women beat out some men, the top 5 runners on the male side of the NCAA ran faster than every single woman on the female side. Just the top 5 men. The top 5 outcompeted every woman. And this isn't anything to brag about or to, be like, oh, y'all ain't, it's not even like we're saying we're just superior people. This is just the way it is on a physical level.
Yeah.
This is just what it is.
And then when you disagree with it, you're automatically labeled as a transphobic person, a homophobic. You shaming someone. You got the PC police down your ass, and I hate that too. Like, this has become a part of the whole conversation. We can't talk about this without being called phobic, without being called some kind of derogatory term, without somebody saying, well, why do you care? Or y'all ain't even watch this or that to be even commenting on it. Like you have to do that to form an opinion about something. This is a very toxic fucking culture. With that, very, 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 very much. Because you can't voice an opinion in opposition to this at all. Because you're not progressive, now you're not being liberal, now you're trying to be this, you're trying to be that. They have all these fucking terms that they throw at you to brand you and label you as a bad guy, you're a meanie, and you should stop and be silenced and all this kind of stuff like that. But yet, you're supposed to be liberal in free speech.
Final thoughts for me. This has been a long time coming, but there is, I think, a correct side in this aspect. It's not transphobic to say that trans women have a physical advantage. Trans women that have gone through male puberty have a physical advantage to biological women, and it is unfair to allow them to compete with them as if they don't. Right. So, and people bring up things like, oh, well, certain male performers have advantages to other male athletes. We don't say anything about them. And it's like, there's a difference between having an advantage and being unfair. There's a difference. We as a society have decided to have protected classes in certain things. We have women's sports because they are a protected class. These protections are not symmetrical. They don't go both ways. So we have a featherweight division in boxing, not to protect the heavyweights. That's not what it's for. It's to protect the featherweights. That's why it's there. We don't let heavyweights fight featherweights. Because why? Because we have deemed that as unfair. That is unfair. So we need to, like I said, the best thing for us to do, I think, right now is to have women's sports and have that delegated to biological women. And then we can have an open category where anybody can, it makes no mention of your sexuality or gender. It's just open. Anybody can get into it. That way we're not excluding trans folks of any type of sport activity. They can still perform, compete, and win medals and win. And if they do, I'm happy for them. No problem. I have no issue with that. But if they're competing against biological women, it's hard for me to get excited about that at all.
My final thoughts, I'm a big proponent of protecting women. Point blank, period. They should have their space. Biological women. I feel like I have to make that distinction. This is my personal opinion, that trans women are not women. They are trans women. And I think the distinction matters. It matters to me that we acknowledge this, because what are we doing? We're denying reality. Like, trans women, like, I don't understand how we've gotten here where the woman of the year could be a biological man. You know, you never went through any of the issues that women go through, biological women go through. Like, I remember seeing my ex crippled in the bed by period cramps. I'll never experience that, and thankfully, because I'm a man. And I feel like it's a slap in the face when we do these things. And like I said earlier, once again, we're invading their space. Let them have their space. This isn't phobic at all. And if you see it as such, then you're a person that's part of the woke insanity that I've been talking about. Let's do a thought experiment, right? We have a boxing match. Let you pick 3 of the top women you could think that could fight. Ronda Rousey, Holly Holmes, and whoever else, right? Let's say Mike Tyson, George Foreman, and Muhammad Ali decided to transition into, they want to be women, trans women. And let's say we're doing team boxing, right? So is one-on-one the best, the two out of 3 win. They get on HRT. Do you really feel like Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, and George Foreman will lose as a collective, as a team? All of them in their primes. Do you really feel like that? That this will be equal? If you do, you are part of the problem. Because that wouldn't even make any sense. 2 years on HRT, and you think Mike Tyson not about to hurt these women in the ring?
Even if you cut his muscle mass by 50%, he
is. Dude, he hurt bigger men than him. Yeah. He's not tall. Mike Tyson is like 5'8", he's like 5'10", maybe 5'9". Yeah. Dude, he was fighting dudes 6 something
and hurting them.
Hurt. One dude just was like, I'm not about to continue fighting.
Gotta get in your corner, Andrew. What? We quit. What are you doing? Last second, the bell's gonna ring.
It's over.
No. So, what I'm saying is, it's okay to be progressive. It's okay to want to be inclusive. We can't deny reality.
And it's not even like about current, and that's the mistake I think people make, is like they think that, oh, it's about testosterone, and you know, if you lower the amount of testosterone you have, then it's
gonna
okay.
Be equal.
No, it's more about the amount of testosterone you gained in puberty.
Yeah,
it's about
and
that.
You retain it.
Yeah. It doesn't, like, during that time, if your testosterone levels were high, then you could work out and gain all kinds of benefits from it. It doesn't matter if well, now you're 25 and that's over with, and now I can get on hormone replacement therapy. No, you still got the broad shoulders from 16.
Facts.
You still got the dense muscle mass. You still got the large heart from 18. You still got that from the large lung capacity. You have that now. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, it's been our episode, y'all. Woo! This one's been stewing for a while, so we was trying to figure out a good way to approach it, and this Lia Thomas situation just kind of gave us the platform to do it.
Right.
You know, just to be clear, you know, no fucking transphobia shit in the comments or nothing like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear or see nothing about, you know, these men in dresses and shit like that.
Oh yeah.
We don't want to hear none of that. We're not on your side if that's the type of rhetoric you're using. We're specifically talking about sports.
Thank you.
All right. That's what we're doing.
That's good, yeah.
Right. That's where we're at. And I'm going to leave, since I've been talking about Noah Plum, basically the whole video, I'm going to leave a couple of his videos in the description. If y'all want to know more about this situation from an athlete who has been following and brushing up on the science about it for a long time before this has even been a thing, I highly recommend that y'all check out his videos. You will know more than 90% of people on the internet talking about it if you just watch his videos. Just saying. I'll leave them in the description. Y'all check them out. But your host B Ryder, my co-host
J Bell,
and this has been
Final Thoughts.
What is important here? What is the actual axis of differentiation? Is not the gender that you identify as, but it is the physiological characteristics that are associated with your biological sex. That is the point of having that segregation in the first place. Duly, as a result of that, what I suggested is that whilst ever we keep the present paradigm we have of male and female sport dressed up as men's and women's sport, all we can do is keep tinkering around at the edges and trying to fudge some kind of solution. Because male and female sits here and men and women sit here. Gender identity does not always tally up with biological sex.